You know, even though I'm pretty excited to play Zelda in the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, I gotta say, I am pretty interested in seeing how Link's gameplay will play out. Is it just one part of the game, or is it a whole part of the game? I guess we'll see. Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to the Robo Show, where we cover the latest leaks, rumors, and news and discussions from Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. EST, with some cool editing and animation mixed in. If you guys end up enjoying this video, drop a like and of course subscribe to the channel. Oh, and by the way, have the bell on too so you can catch the video live and watch along with everybody. In this video, we are going to talk about the Legend of Zelda news that has just dropped for the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and some other information that has dropped for the game. We also have Luigi's Mansion HD 2 sales in France as well, which is pretty interesting. It's really shaping up how this game is actually selling. We also do have some disappointing news for Crash Bandicoot games, which really does disappoint me as a fan of Crash Bandicoot. We also have a cool look behind the scenes of Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby, the original name of those games, and even some Metroid Prime 4 tidbits. There's also some Xbox and Sony stuff I actually want to quickly talk about as well. So I think we can pretty much all agree that the Legend of Zelda series is going pretty strong during the Nintendo Switch's lifetime. Breath of the Wild was a huge hit and inspired a ton of other games. Tears of the Kingdom came out and smashed records for Nintendo, and a ton of Nintendo fans loved the game. There are so many wacky creations from that game. I'm sure you guys have seen them all over Twitter. Overall, it's been pretty good to be a Legend of Zelda fan, but recently Nintendo has sort of changed things a bit. They're trying something new, Zelda as the main character. Now, it was my first thought that we wouldn't even be playing as Link in this game, but it seems that we actually will be. This is what noisypixel.net has to say on the topic. The official ESRB rating description of the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which has recently been announced, has been posted. Besides an expected rating of E+10, the description itself reveals that Link will also be playable in this adventure in some capacity. Link is simply described as able to use a sword and arrow and combat enemies, and not much else. And this was the description of the game that has the Link info. This is an adventure game in which players assume the role as Zelda as she attempts to dispel rifts throughout Hyrule and rescue Link. From a 3/4 overhead perspective, players explore various environments while fighting stylized enemies, e.g. humans, creatures. As Link, players use a sword and arrows to defeat enemies. Zelda can use a magic wand to summon creatures, wind-up knights, pig soldiers, slimes, for battle. Some enemies can be defeated by being set on fire. Other creatures dissolve into mist when defeated. Battle sequences are somewhat frenetic, with several enemies attacking/fighting at once. So I think this is kind of interesting because I think we pretty much all assumed, or at least I did anyways. I don't know about you guys. I assumed we weren't going to be playing as Link at all. I thought Zelda was going to be the focus, and this does kind of raise a couple questions. The first one is, how much does Link play a role in this game? There are times where we get to play other characters in other games. You have your main character, and then you have another character that you play in certain sections when you reach a point in the story. So is that going to be the case in The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? Or is this going to be the kind of thing where you can switch between them? Is it a mechanic? Is Link in another world and you get to play in that world as Link? I don't know, it's going to be kind of interesting. What do you guys think Link's role in this game is going to be, and how much of the gameplay do you think we're going to see in this game? Is it just going to be a small part or a big part? And moving on to the next one, we have some disappointing news for Crash Bandicoot fans. Unfortunately, Crash Bandicoot 5 was cancelled. Now, Crash Bandicoot has been doing really fantastic. We had the Insane Trilogy, which looked fantastic and played fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And then we had Crash Bandicoot It's About Time, and overall, it really feels like Crash Bandicoot was back. You would assume with the success of those two games that they would bring out Crash Bandicoot 5. And what's even more shocking about this news is how long it was actually in development. And this is confirmed, by the way. It's not a rumor or a leak, this is actually confirmed. So this is what the tweet with the information on it says. Confirmed, Microsoft canceled Crash Bandicoot 5 developed by Toys for Bob. And they do have the tweet that has the information from what I'm assuming is the developers from the game. This is what Nicholas Cole over on Twitter, which the Twitter handle is From Happy Rock, has to say about the information. Or he's a developer on the game, I should say. Well, our canceled project of the last 3 years is officially and truly dead as of today. Internal attempts to save it failed, and the embargo on the whole body of portfolio work has been lifted. Rest in peace, Project Dragon. Brace yourselves for the largest ever art bomb of work I loved. Now someone has replied and it says, if this is Spyro, I'm gonna be the most pissed off man who ever lived. And then he replies, it is not Spyro, but someday folks will hear about the Crash 5 that never was, and it's gonna break hearts. And there you have it, Crash Bandicoot 5 was canceled. This is someone who actually worked on the game. And I gotta say, this kinda sucks. Like, why would you do that? I'm assuming that there was maybe problems with the game, maybe they couldn't get the idea down right, but overall, I hope this isn't the last thing that we have for Crash Bandicoot 5. I hope they end up going back to the drawing board maybe in a couple years and start from scratch maybe. I mean, the Insane Trilogy and It's About Time was really great, so I don't see why they wouldn't try to make Crash Bandicoot 5. And moving on to some Metroid Prime news, we do have a little bit of tidbits inside the mind of the people who are working on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Specifically the UI of the game, which if you guys have seen the trailer, it looks fantastic. This is what my Nintendo News has to say. Retro Studios' John Warford opened up about his work on the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in an X post recently. I think I'm gonna start saying Twitter instead. I know it's not Twitter anymore, but just saying that sounds really bad. Anyways, a lead UI artist for the game, Warford, probably saying that wrong, has also worked on Metroid Prime Remastered, as well as BioWare's Anthem and Star Wars The Old Republic. So that's pretty good. The UI, Anthem aside anyways, the UI was fantastic in Anthem, but the game itself, I have a lot to say on that. But gameplay aside, the UI was fantastic, and I'm really excited to see what else they have in Metroid Prime 4. Now, they also talk about how they went about going and designing the visor for this game. He talked about how it's going to be a modern update to the visor that honors the Metroid Prime legacy, considering that it seems to take up less space and stand out less than the HUD from the original trilogy. Perhaps modern, in a sense, is meant to be minimalist, which I think a lot of people can appreciate that. I know something like Suicide Squad, not a first-person shooter, but that's something that a lot of people didn't like about the UI, is that it was just too cluttered. I do feel in a game that's supposed to immerse you into that world, I think having a smaller UI and letting you see things around your environment is probably important. But yeah, kind of overall interesting stuff when it comes to the HUD design and UI in Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And speaking of kind of interesting stuff, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have played Pokemon games, but how many of you guys have played Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire? Personally, those are my favorite games on the Game Boy Advance when it comes to Pokemon games. Honestly, the Game Boy Advance games when it comes to Pokemon games are just some of my favorite games. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Pokemon Leaf Green, there's just so many great games on there. Not just Pokemon games, but there's also other games that are great on there anyways. But anyways, it seems that we know the original names for these. They weren't going to be called Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. This is what the person who found this out along with another person had to say. Me and @Wabu were looking at some RS files. We found, and I don't know how to read that because I don't know how to read a different language, but it's translated as Indigo version and Crimson version. They are apparently earlier names for Sapphire and Ruby. So I just thought that was kind of interesting and just an excuse to talk about Sapphire and Ruby. But yeah, switching over to some Luigi's Mansion HD 2 news. So if you guys remember, we did talk about the sales for Luigi Mansion 2 HD when it comes to another territory. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think if I'm remembering it off the top of my head, it was Japan physical sales, I think. But now we have the France charts, and according to the France charts, from July 1st to July 7th, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD was number 1, just over Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And this is pretty interesting to me because Luigi Mansion 2 HD is, of course, an older game. Now, it's the HD version of that game, but it really shows the staying power of some of these IPs in some of these games. Which leads me into a discussion that I want to have right now about remasters and remakes. Specifically one, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Where is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker? This is really strange. The more these come out, the more sales come out for these games that keep selling really well. Makes me wonder, where the heck is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess? Because you have to wonder, these are pretty big games that a lot of people want, obviously, so why do we have all of these HD versions and all of these games coming to the Nintendo Switch and there's just not even a mention of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess? I mean, my theory on that is that more than likely they're saving it maybe closer to the Nintendo Switch 2. Who knows? Maybe they're saving it for a September Nintendo Direct. I can see them doing that because if they're not going to reveal the Nintendo Switch 2 in September, I think they're still going to have a Nintendo Direct. So maybe they're going to have those at the Nintendo Direct. I know a lot of Nintendo insiders have been saying that, hey, they're sitting on it, that we've been We've been hearing that for quite some time, actually. They exist. They're sitting on it. They're going to have it eventually. So maybe Nintendo knows that we really, really want this, and for some reason, the Nintendo Switch is trending on Twitter right now. Okay, nothing big happened. It's just a bunch of people talking about the Nintendo Switch. But anyways, yeah, I think they're sitting on it, and it could potentially be revealed at the Nintendo Direct in September if we do end up getting one, which is pretty close, actually. It's about a month and a half away. But great news for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. That's selling well, so we'll probably get more of these. Like, there are a lot of games I want to see have the HD remake or HD upscale or whatever they're going to be doing with these games, especially when it comes to the Zelda games. But I do think other games could use that as well, like Kid Icarus Uprising. They're bringing a lot of games over from the 3DS to the Nintendo Switch, so that's another game I'd love to see. Honestly, I'd kind of like Metroid Prime Hunters as well. I personally think that would be pretty cool too. Animal Crossing New Leaf would be a fantastic one as well. But yeah, let me know if you guys are enjoying Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, how good it was. I unfortunately had to save money for my car bill, so I couldn't buy it. Maybe I'll pick it up later on. But yeah, let me know how you're enjoying it in the comment section below. And what games do you want on the Nintendo Switch when it comes to remasters or HD versions or just ports? Could be from the Wii U, could be from another console. We know that a lot of companies are bringing games to consoles like Xbox and even Sony with the Lego game. So let me know what you think would be cool. Honestly, I would actually like, and this isn't a Nintendo IP or anything, the Shadows of Mordor series and the Shadow of War. Well, not series, there's two different games, but I want those games. I always thought those would be fun on the Switch. And moving on to some more topics, this is going to be Sony and Xbox. Spider-Man 2 DLC, according to leaks, is going to be set to have 3 DLCs. The first DLC is going to be Beetle Infestation DLC, which according to this post, Insomniac themselves ended up leaking the DLC earlier via a dev menu earlier this year, so it is gonna happen. So it kind of lines up with that, which is pretty interesting. Honestly, I love the Spider-Man games. I have it on PS5. I have all of them. I have Spider-Man 1, I have Miles Morales, and I have Spider-Man 2, and I love the heck. I mean, just swinging around in the games is fun. It's kind of like chill and relaxing. So I'm pretty excited for that. I mean, I've sunk probably more hours than I should have in that game. But, you know, one thing, I never bought the DLC for Spider-Man 1, the Catwoman DLC, so I still want to do that. Usually it's on sale, so I might do that eventually. And moving on to some more news. Now, this is an Xbox, well, I guess depending on what console you own, but it's Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. We got some new details on that game. So this game is something that I am really excited for. I'm excited for all 3 to get the HD 2D Remake. I absolutely love the Star Ocean HD 2D remake. I can't remember the subtitle for the life of me, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. I sunk probably way too much hours into that. I just love how you can be overpowered in that game. But anyways, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. This is the details of the Dragon Quest II HD 2D remake. I don't know why I paused like that. And there's actually quite a lot. Made many improvements for modern players while staying true to the original. Additional story elements supervised by Yuji Horii. The protagonists will have 2 appearances, Appearance A and Appearance B. Towns appear like miniatures in the overworld, monsters appear in town. That's interesting, you don't see that in RPGs a lot. Amount of villagers in town is increased with new conversations. Overall changes from day to night as in-game time passes. New glowing points in the environment to get items from them, which is usually in RPGs. New environmental sounds, random encounters, new combat abilities, 3 difficulty settings, which I'm going to put it on the hardest one because I hate myself. No, I just love having a challenge, and then when you're stuck on something and you finally beat it, you get that gratification. I love that. And here's a big one. I think a lot more RPGs should do this. Battle speed can be adjusted with shoulder buttons. Man, so many games need that. But anyways, auto saves, 9 slots for manual saves, so you can kind of play with the saves, which is great, especially if you get to a place where you know you might not make it out alive. Last 30 conversations are saved in menu. You know what? Before I even continue, this is what I wish Elden Ring had. Might be controversial, but this is what I wish they had. Anyways, 2 camera distances, normal and close-up. Minimap can be toggled on or off. 2 graphic modes on console, frame rate 60 FPS or graphics 4K. Interesting thing about that, I wonder if they're going to have those options on the Nintendo Switch 2 if the rumors are true about it having 4K when it's docked. 4K resolution on PS5, Xbox, and PC. So yeah, really great information on this. I mean, I can't wait for this game. I just love RPGs, but when they do the whole HD 2D remake, I absolutely fall in love with them. I don't know, that art style just kinda hits with me, you know?